I mentioned at the start that I got my new camera lens. I should be able to click it back in today. But look who's joining us today. It's been a while, hasn't it? Fluffy Pants. Maybe it's a seasonal thing, but we know how inscrutable and truly precious our pets are. But Looney says hello, and Looney is here to help assist us with our provocative and terrible and wonderful topic this week, the topic of perfect health. So, here's a very blunt, straightforward question for you. And the question is it God's will that you should be in perfect health? And perfect health is the ideal amalgam combination of mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual health. Is it God's will that you enjoy and live in perfect health right now? Okay, so I know that's a large question, but I kind of live on large questions. It's kind of my job. It's sort of my job to ask big, weird, tough, awkward, disorienting questions. And I think that's the job of any coach, mentor, teacher. And all of you are mentors, coaches, and teachers, of course. And you've asked very large questions as well. But I think that's an exceptionally large question. Is it God's will that we are in perfect health? Is it God's will, I guess you might say? So if we look at the question and we turn it around a little bit, if for some reason there's a hesitation or an obstruction or a, I'm not sure or a, yeah, but, then we have to admit that we're saying in effect that it's God's will that we're not in perfect health, that it's God's will that we are in some way obstructed, restricted, restrained, or occluded from perfect health. Well, we could chew on that topic forever, but I want to take the question of, is it God's will that we are in perfect health? And then I want to add this sidelight to it today. And the sidelight is, and I woke up with this thought, and God only knows where thoughts come from, but the thought was the reminder that consciousness is infinitely malleable. Consciousness is infinitely malleable. What's some evidence that consciousness is infinitely malleable? How about the universe itself? How about zebras and quasars and subatomic particles? And, I obviously literally could increase the list ad infinitum. Consciousness is infinitely malleable. How about the current estimate of 1 trillion galaxies? That's a lot of malleability. So consciousness is infinitely malleable. Well, what does that mean for us? What does that mean for me? What does that mean for you? What does that mean for Looney? It means that in any given moment, our experience is infinitely malleable. Perhaps one of the greatest inspirations of the saints, sages, and mystics, the holy ones, the Christs or Jesus Christ, was their apparent ability to take people in perfectly awful health and restore them to health, perfect health immediately. A great example of this, you might say, perhaps the greatest example of this would be bringing a dead person back to life. Do you believe that? Do you believe consciousness and life is so infinitely malleable that a person can be dead on this plane of existence and be brought back to life? These are large questions of belief, aren't they? But even the people that they healed, they had obviously lost all belief. If you've been sitting on the side of the road begging for years and no healing is coming, and somebody walks along and they heal you, boy, is that infinite malleability of consciousness? Well, what happens in those circumstances? One person believes that they can't be healed, and one being absolutely knows that they're already perfectly and absolutely healthy. And the truth always, always supersedes the false. The false is the belief that I am blocked off, I am not healthy, I am stuck, I'm a material being stuck in a material body. And the spirit, infinite spiritual consciousness knows that perfect health is our absolute nature, is and knows it so strongly and imparts it so effectively to the sufferer that the sufferer's false belief of illness and sickness is infinitely overcome. Now, here's an interesting thought about that. Every person that has ever been healed by a great master, they went on to die. Sorry for that little caveat, but the point is not that we're going to die, because we are not meant to live in this body forever. That is not God's will. But just because we die doesn't mean that we're not supposed to live in perfect health every single moment until we're done with this body. So today's great challenge is your consciousness infinitely malleable? Do you believe that it's God's will that you're sick, depressed, ill? Or can you begin to generate the belief that it's God's will that we are perfectly healthy, perfectly buoyant, perfectly springy, perfectly lively, loving, footloose, fancy, happy, joyous, and free, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and physically? Looney and I ask big questions, but we're going to get some big answers, and our health is improving. Love you guys. I'll see you tomorrow.